The church was silent, until the scream of torn fabric echoed through the sanctuary. Not from the bride. From the veil. In front of 200 stunned guests, Lorraine Taylor ripped the ivory veil from Denise Monroe's head so violently that the pins clawed across her scalp, drawing blood beneath the wedding lights. Then, without shame, without hesitation, she walked down the aisle and placed that same veil onto another woman, Tiffany Grant, the pregnant mistress. And the groom? Marcus Taylor, the man who swore to love Denise forever, stood there and watched. No protest. No apology. No guilt. Just silence. The kind of silence that murders a soul. Denise stood frozen at the altar, humiliation dripping down her face with the thin line of blood hidden beneath her hairline. Every guest stared at her like she had already become yesterday's mistake. But Denise didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't collapse. She simply turned around and walked out of the church alone beneath the blazing Atlanta sun. What nobody knew was that the woman they had just destroyed secretly owned a future worth trillions. For months, the betrayal had been carefully planned. Marcus had never intended to marry her. The proposal, the roses, the kisses whispered at midnight, it was all theater. Denise was only the safe girl. Quiet, loyal, easy to control. But Tiffany? Tiffany carried the Taylor bloodline. And Lorraine Taylor wanted power, not love. Days later, Marcus finally confessed the truth inside the apartment Denise once called home. Tiffany is pregnant, he said coldly while packing his bags. My mother thinks she's better for the family. Denise felt her heart collapse inside her chest. Then she asked the question that shattered the last piece of her soul. Did you ever love me? Marcus looked at her for a long moment before answering. I liked who I was when I was with you, but that's not the same thing. And just like that, he left her drowning in silence. Days turned into darkness. Denise ended up alone in a cheap roadside motel, surviving on crackers and bottled water, staring at the blood-stained wedding dress folded beside her like a corpse she couldn't bury. Until one sleepless night, she remembered the locket. Mama Opa's locket. The woman who raised her had once warned. One day when the world breaks you, open the envelope. With trembling hands, Denise opened the sealed letter hidden for years inside an old shoebox. And in that moment, her entire life changed. The next morning, Denise drove to Savannah. Inside a towering law office lined with dark oak and old money, attorney Raymond Whitfield stared at her with disbelief. You look exactly like your father, he whispered. Then came the truth. Denise Monroe was not abandoned. She was hidden. Her father, Calvin Monroe, had quietly built one of the largest real estate empires in America, buying forgotten land across Atlanta, Savannah, and Charlotte decades before the world realized its value. While others chased fast money, Calvin Monroe bought entire futures. And when he died, every dollar, every building, every acre, was left to one person. Denise. The woman humiliated at the altar was now one of the richest women in the country. Not millionaire. Not billionaire. Trillionaire. But Denise didn't return for revenge with screaming headlines or flashy diamonds. No. She returned with silence. The most dangerous kind of power. Quietly, she hired elite attorneys. Quietly, she purchased shares in the Taylor family dealerships through hidden companies. Quietly, she bought the church where they humiliated her, along with the land surrounding it. And then, she waited. Weeks later, the Taylors hosted a glamorous unity celebration for Marcus and Tiffany. Champagne flowed. Cameras flashed. Lorraine floated through the ballroom wearing designer silk and victory on her face. They laughed about Denise, mocked her, forgot her, until the doors opened. A line of attorneys entered carrying stacks of documents. Foreclosure notices, property seizures, emergency legal filings. One by one, the Taylor empire began collapsing in real time. The dealership properties? Frozen in litigation. The church? Under new ownership. Bank loans? Being called in immediately. Whispers spread across the ballroom like wildfire. Then came the final blow. Marcus discovered the person behind it all. Was Denise Monroe. The woman he abandoned. The woman who now owned the ground beneath his entire empire. Across the street, inside a sleek black car, Denise watched everything unfold through tinted windows. No dramatic speech. No tears. No revenge monologue. Just calm eyes and absolute power. The same woman once left bleeding at the altar now sat untouchable, while the people who destroyed her watched their kingdom burn. And for the first time in his life, Marcus looked afraid. Weeks later, he begged to see her. Standing in the lobby of her luxury penthouse, Marcus barely resembled the confident man who once walked away from her. "Denise, we can fix this," he whispered desperately. "For old time's sake." She looked at him calmly, then repeated the words he once used to destroy her. "You liked who you were with me." A long pause. "But I no longer need to be that woman for anyone." Security escorted him out. Forever. Denise didn't use her fortune for revenge alone. She rebuilt neighborhoods, funded schools, created homes for families forgotten by the system. Everything her father once dreamed of, she brought to life. And the blood-stained wedding dress? She kept it. Not as a memory of pain, but as proof of the day she stopped begging for love and remembered her worth. Years later, during a gala honoring her philanthropy, a young woman asked Denise the question everyone wanted answered.